Help us try to quantify this intangible cost of people not going about their business. How do you calculate that?
Well, we calculate that by factors such as people delaying or canceling trips to an area like Boston because it recently suffered a terrorist attack. A good example of a study we've done previously, I had the honor of coordinating 8 studies a couple of years ago to come up with a definitive estimate of the economic impacts of the World Trade Center attacks. We found that New York City was highly resilient to the economic consequences in terms of businesses relocating quickly, but at the same time we found that there was almost a 2-year downturn in airline travel and related tourism. So in our final analysis, more than 80% of the losses from the World Trade Center attacks was due to this decrease in airline travel and related tourism.
So this situation is obviously a little different.
Because of fear of flying.
Right. I mean, this is different because you don't have the air flight.
Right, but you don't have the air flight. But I would predict that you'll have fewer people attending the Boston Marathon next year.
Well, what about even, the UK has a marathon days away. That's coming up. Do you think people will be reluctant to go to that marathon?
I would think so. A lot of people canceled their flights after 9/11. Even though those flights weren't to New York, just because they were generally worried about getting on an airplane.
Although,
so we'll see, but I predict that you'll have a smaller turnout.
I can understand the concern about flying after 9/11 because airplanes were directly involved. That's how that whole horrible event in the history of the United States was made manifest. And yet, what we're talking about here is not an airplane. We're talking about 2 clearly disenfranchised, angry people who had bombs placed in open areas. So why would that necessarily have the same kind of impact?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, had these people been definitely linked to Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda's pattern is to engage in multiple attacks. Now, it's not clear yet, though, that they were lone wolves entirely. So the uncertainty about that could have some effect. But, in crimes, you often have copycats, and that's a concern.